being featured in Sidra's podcast and have a deep love for the next show.
Sidra is a researcher from Manchester who will be sharing some personal experience and stories about notions of home and food from different countries and cultures, alongside guests Clara and Maddie.
Crossroads Connected.
Crossroads Connected.
Crossroads Connected.
Crossroads Connected. In October, I went to Pakistan after 11 years, the longest period I haven't been. My family's love language and major form of connection is through food. My aunt, who has now passed away, would save seasonal fruit, spend hours preparing and roasting spices to send us. She would harvest and spread out green chickpeas on the roof for the sun to dry them so that we could make cholia naan. These are young green chickpeas mashed onto naan and then baked onto a grill. My family doesn't share a surname, but instead we share food and recipes, one of them being dal ki laddu, lentil fritters that my grandparents' friends from what's now India shared with them, perhaps before partition or before the borders between India and Pakistan became more solidified. I never got to meet my grandparents, but feel connected to them through food and recipes they left behind. Having parents who migrated from another country, food and language have been two of the main ways that I have connected to my ethnic heritage and origins. Food has been the connecting bridge for me and my siblings, the foundation of which have been created by my parents. It has been something that has helped me feel at home when I have lived in different countries and places. My name is Sidra, and this is In Transition, a podcast where we create shared moments between us using storytelling and conversation to learn something new. Food often evokes memories of certain periods and people in our lives, and it can bring us comfort in times of both joy and periods of chaos and transition. It gives us great insight into a culture, people, history, traditions, and practices. Food is also a great connecting point that helps us to understand each other and our personal stories and build deeper human connections. So today I have with me in the studio two guests, Clara and Maddie, who will be giving us an insight into their experiences of food and notions of home. So, Clara and Maddie, would you like to introduce who you are and what countries or cultures you feel like you have a connection to?
I'm Clara Fernandez, and I'm an Argentine based in UK, now in Manchester, 9 years ago. And I've lived abroad for 24 years. I'm from Argentina, Buenos Aires. I grew up an Argentine dad and a New Yorker mom. So I've got like different, I think, bits of culture in me.
Hello, my name is Maddie and I grew up in Denver, Colorado. My stepdad's family was from Mexico, so I've been speaking Spanish for about 8 to 9 years. Oh. So I love Mexican culture and I've always kind of been around it. My grandma's side of the family, like my other side of the family, was kind of Polish and Russian.
Nice. And you've moved to the UK?
Yes. Oh, I forgot to mention that. I moved to the UK and I think it's my 4th year here.
Wow. And how are you finding it?
It's cold.
Yeah.
I guess that we all agree, no?
Yeah.
Your origins are from Pakistan also,
yeah.
So you're from a hot country.
Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself as well. My cultural heritage is Pakistani and I also feel very South Asian as well. But we'll move on to the first question.
Let's do it.
So we all have foods that we turn to for comfort. Can you share a food that reminds you of home? So home in this context doesn't have to be a physical space or place. It can be a person, a memory, or a feeling.
I mean, we have a lot of Italian influence in Argentina. There's some dishes that my mom prepares that are not very like Italian. So there's a very simple dish, spinach with white sauce. And I remember like loving that. I don't know why. It brings me like, I don't know, the feeling of my mom. And funnily, with my Zimbabwean husband, there's a dish that is greens with peanut butter. And it's very similar, that homely thing of a simple dish that I associate from the spinach or the greens with, instead of white sauce, with the peanut butter. So it's funny how after the years I encountered that dish here in the UK.
one of my favorite foods from home. We have a very big Mexican food culture and then also a very big like Vietnamese food culture. So I absolutely love pho and all Vietnamese food. And in particular, especially in Denver, I don't know what they put in the pho there, but I just like there's something just so comforting and warmly about it. It reminds me of one of my best friends from home. And every time I see her, our like main goal is to get pho as many times as possible.
Clara, like yours, it's a very simple dish and it's called khichdi. So it's lentils and rice that are cooked together in a stock of caramelized onions, cumin and salt, and it's eaten with plain yogurt. And this dish, I think I realized that it exists in many cultures and it has different variations, but the main thing is it's quite gentle on the stomach and it's considered an Ayurvedic healing food. A lot of people eat it when they're sick, but I really love it. So when I request for my family members to make it, they're like, what? You want khichdi? Why do you want khichdi? It's such a basic dish. But for me, it feels like a warm hug and it reminds me of my mom.
It's funny, I know that dish because I did a quarantine of khichdi as a part of a instructor of Kundalini Yoga, and we had to do 40 days of khichdi, and I loved it.
So you ate khichdi for 40 days?
For 40 days. Khichdi and fruit.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yes, I was very fit that time.
Because I think it has everything you need, protein and carbs, and then a fermented food, which is like yogurt if you have it with that.
Yes.
Okay, so question 2. Sometimes we can't find a particular ingredient to make something and we have to adapt. So this can mean creating a fusion or something new. Do you have any experience of this? And can you describe what you did? So for this one, I'll start first.
Okay.
So I have used tortillas in place of roti or chapatis, and I've also used skyr, which is an Icelandic yogurt, in place of yogurt.
To be honest, now for the Argentine things, it's pretty much available. But when I first arrived, we drink like a kind of green tea that is called yerba mate. That is like in a calabash and with a pipe. So that is like the to-go drink in the morning, or you are very strict, or sweet or very bitter. I'm the bitter one. So it's like a very strong green tea that you drink. And you have your thermos bottle and you just literally keep on pouring into the flavor stays away. So when I arrived, I couldn't find it, the Argentine one that I bought. But funnily, in the, what's it called, Manchester Superstore on the Curry Mile, a guy told me, they sell like a yerba mate, but it's like a Syrian one. And then I learned from an Arab guy from Syria, it's like a fight if it's the Argentine mate is not Argentine, it's Syrian before. So I thought that was like a funny that in another country they were having mate.
It's so amazing that Syrian people have something very similar in their culture. And I think we find often that things that we have or we try, sometimes we find them in different cuisines and things taste quite similar, but they look completely different and the texture is different. But it reminds us that there's so many similarities between us.
Mine's quite random. My stepdad makes the most delicious, wonderful chili. It's like a 5-bean chili, and it's delicious and it's amazing. And we have a very specific, you get it from Mexican superstores. It's a chili powder. I did not realize that it was different to the chili powder here, and it has a mix of different ingredients like onion and garlic, and it's less concentrated than the chili powder that you would find at Aldi or Sainsbury's. And I was trying to remake the chili a few weeks ago, and normally you put quite a lot because it's such a high concentration of different herbs and spices at home, but over here it is just straight chili, and it's different chilies than you'd have in the US. And so I poured a bunch in, and I was like, oh, this is going to be delicious and remind me of home. And it was actually very atrocious and so spicy. And I had a stomach ache for about 3 days because of how different the spices here were. So I learned my lesson the hard way on that one.
I think recently I had, for the first time, Thai red curry. And because I'm South Asian, so I thought, I can handle the spice. Me and my sister, we saw the box. It said mild. I didn't realize how spicy it would be. My whole body was on fire and my head was hurting. Oh, no. And I never experienced anything like it. And then when I went online and I searched, is Thai cuisine spicier than South Asian cuisine? And it is, because there's so many different kinds of spices around the world. And that spice is like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's one of the spiciest.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Clara and Maddie. Due to limited time, that's all we have for today, but we'll be exploring more in the future related to personal experiences, art, music, history, and much more. I've been Sidra, your host, in transition with guests Clara and Maddie. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening.
Crossroads Connected.
Welcome back. If you are attuned enough to notice the pattern we have established, we are lucky enough to have the lovely Sidra here in the studio. Welcome in.
Hi.
Nice to have you.
This was such a beautiful piece about food. That conversation about the cultural importance of food, I absolutely loved, and I loved your perspectives. What made you choose this project What made you choose this particular topic as a project for your podcast?
Yeah, so when deciding to pick what topic I wanted to do, I realised that food has been a major part of my life. And growing up, my parents loved to cook, and that passion and interest in food and looking at it in a holistic way has been passed on to me. And also, surprisingly, a lot of the projects that I've worked on have revolved around food in some way. So I worked on the Ramadan Tent project, which is about bringing communities together through a shared meal. And then I also work with people seeking international protection in Iceland, and I volunteer currently at Heart and Parcel, which is a food and ESOL project in Manchester. And in all of them, cooking and sharing cuisine has been an integral part. So and I also just in general love learning random facts about food and learning from others, which is why I asked Maddie and Clara to be a part of my podcast.
Thank you so much. This is going to kind of switch back.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you hope to achieve after this podcasting course?
Yeah, so this course has really inspired me, and I've learnt a lot on it. And it reminded me of how much I love creating and editing, and I hope that I can take this forward into other areas that I work in and continue the creativity.
Oh, beautiful.
It was amazing. It was really good.
Well, congratulations on your podcast. It was so lovely to work on it with you and watch it all come together. Lovely. Before calling out our next stage,